Asia Pop 40.
Today, we go to the UK and we have two exceptionally talented boys, James and Andy of Honne. Welcome to Asia Pop 40.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
It is an absolute honor to meet you two online today. I love your music for the longest time and have loved every single one of your EP and album, and of course this new mixtape that you've released. But before we set things up, before we go into the bulk of our interview about the new album or about the new mixtape today, I have to set something straight. Is it Honne or Honne?
No one knows. Go on, Andy.
Go on, you say, because that was sounding interesting.
I was going to say, even for us, we kind of switch it up a bit. So generally speaking, we found the word and we say Honne, and then found out that you're meant to say Honne.
Yeah.
So, and in Asia, a lot of people don't know. If we say we're in a band called Honne, there's I don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
But then we have to say Honne. So depending on where we are, we kind of change what our band name is.
Okay. So
yeah, we say Honne.
So you did the research first, and of course, for people who are not Japanese and listening to the show, Honne in Japan is kind of the true intentions, the true thoughts that's behind your tatemae, which is kind of the facade, the proper way to behave for the general public, for the social constraints. But Honne, of course, it has its own meaning in Japanese. I'm glad that you guys took that word and made it your own. So Honne, of course, is also to inspire people to make genuine sounds, and you guys have been definitely doing that. So let's jump right into it. The latest mixtape is called No Sound Without You. This is a very experimental project. Can I say that?
Yes, you can. Yeah, we made sure that what we came back with this time was, even more different to the music that's come before. And yeah, it was just like a more of an experiment, and we changed a lot of things we were doing, like the way we were writing songs even, which is obviously the most basic thing, but we just changed everything. And I think we went back more to our kind of roots and what, like, writing music based on the music that we grew up listening to, like our parents would make us listen to in the cars on family holidays and stuff like that. So there's a lot more guitars on it. It's a lot more traditional in the way we've written it, and it's definitely different.
Just out of curiosity, what did your parents make you listen to when you were younger? We'll go with both James and Andy.
Go on, you start, James.
Yeah, and stuff like the Beatles, and
of course,
I think it's partly that, and partly like just growing up as a teenager learning guitar. You learn songs like that, and Led Zeppelin, and all that kind of good guitar stuff.
Okay, so pretty classic rock, and obviously psychedelic rock as well. What about you, Andy?
Yeah, so it's stuff like that. I mean, more of the same, like the Eagles, Hotel California.
Okay.
I would learn that solo and play that over and over. But then also my dad was really into like Jimi Hendrix and The Doors, which is kind of like a bit more dark and, as you say, like psychedelic.
Yeah.
So it's all kind of, I didn't really realize it as a kid, and I guess you don't, but it's all kind of seeping into you and changing you as a person in many ways. But we only just found out the beginning of this year when we started writing this music that it was in there somewhere.
It definitely sets down the foundation of your sound, but I think it also sets the foundation of the way you experiment music or experience music as well, because starting from the first track of No Song Without You, Dear P, it sounds like someone is putting on a vinyl record. Is that what you're trying to create here?
Yeah, it was more like it's obviously the prelude to No Song Without You, but it's kind of to capture the moments before No Song Without You, or the moments as it's just being written, and you can hear like pen to paper and he kind of hashing out the lyrics and the melodies. So we wanted the album or the mixtape to feel, you know, as interesting as it could be, and all these little snippets of songs that you hear throughout just to take you on a bit of a journey and hopefully keep it interesting whilst you're listening to it.
Okay, so what state of mind should you be in when you listen to, or for our fans, what state of mind should they be when they listen to this album? Like, how do you imagine people should sit down with this record and listen to it?
For me, I think it's like before bed.
Yeah.
Just laying on your bed, maybe in your pajamas or whatever, with headphones on.
Sure.
Just like
wouldn't happen any other way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Andy?
Yeah, I think it's a quite positive album. Like, there are some lower moments, like Gone 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 is a bit sad, and One Way to Tokyo is quite sad.
Yeah.
But generally it's hopefully quite uplifting. So I think if anyone was like in need of a bit of a musical warm hug, then this would be what you would stick on.
When you need a hug, that's when you listen to it.
A few people have messaged us saying that they have like a morning ritual, which is like wake up and put on Smile More, Smile More, Smile More, which is the last track on the album, on the mixtape, whatever we want to call it. And they said that it just helps them start the day off with a positive outlook kind of thing, which I love the thought of that, of our music doing that for somebody.
And on that note, I'm glad that you included a track like this, because the world definitely needs to be reminded to smile more nowadays. And of course, we can tell that a couple of tracks were definitely written post COVID-19 and after it started. For example, the song Social Distancing. And I love how you designed the letters so that they're distancing themselves from each other. And like what James said, I think this is a great album to listen to while you're in your jammies, because people generally don't get out of their jammies nowadays.
It's the only way to listen to it.
Right? How many of the tracks are actually written while you are in your jammies at home?
So definitely Social Distancing. La La La, that's how it goes, was written in quarantine. Our Love Will Never Die. I mean, basically about like 50 or 60% of it was written during quarantine, which is kind of crazy.
And even more than that was finished during quarantine.
Did you two get to meet each other in the production process, or did you kind of have to stay apart while producing?
Yeah, we stayed apart. So a few songs we had written beforehand, before lockdown, luckily, and lots had been started before lockdown, and then were finished during lockdown whilst we were apart. But yeah, those ones that Andy mentioned were written and recorded in our separate bedrooms, and we didn't see each other again until it was out, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, we must have not seen each other for like 3 months or something.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Oh no. Does that affect your artistry? Because you usually work together and be able to kind of bounce ideas off each other?
Not too much. I mean, we're texting each other, you know,
of course,
20 times, or if not more, a day. And obviously phone calls and stuff. So yeah, we're obviously always in communication with each other, and we've written music like this in the past, so it was quite easy to slip back into doing that.
Okay, so it hasn't affected how you two work with each other, since of course you have years of chemistry, but there is a visual artist that is involved in this new project, this new mixtape called Holly Wooberton, and I'm curious as to how you found her and how involved she is in this new project.
Yeah, so we found her through a friend of mine who does he puts audio to animation.
Yeah.
It's like a sound designer, and he came across her work and recommended that we get in touch with her when we were looking for someone. And yeah, like the pandemic hadn't started when we'd started looking, so we were just very fortunate that we decided that animation would suit this mixtape, because otherwise we wouldn't have been able to make any video content. So we reached out to her, and at the time we kind of wanted it to we were focusing on the No Song Without You video, and we had this idea of like a little girl with her imaginary friend, and the imaginary friend is kind of like a little monster that is a friendly kind of monster. It was kind of inspired by My Neighbor Totoro.
Yeah, okay.
The Studio Ghibli stuff, which we were enjoying at the time. But then we talked that through with her, and she came up with some other concepts and kind of took it down her own path, which I feel made it much more creative and took it into its own little world.
So her creations, we're talking about Gullumi and Chip, right?
Yeah.
Now, do you think they will make reprisal and the more appearances in your upcoming videos?
I hope so. Like, I'd feel very sad if we, for example, like touring, I was really excited to kind of figure out a way we could include all these visual elements in our touring. James had agreed to wear a big green suit, but
really, James?
Imagine, that'd be great.
I would love to see that.
We'll try and keep them alive for as long as we possibly can, just because I feel like people need to see more of it. And
if I'm wearing the green suit, you're dressing up as a dog.
Okay, fine.
Hey, you guys can write all the empty checks you want right now, or blank checks you want right now, because it's still a bit of a way before you can perform live. So go ahead and knock it out of the park. So you said, James, that you guys were kind of enjoying My Neighbor Totoro at the time. Have you been enjoying any other Ghibli production or anything else from the anime world?
Yeah. I can't remember all the names of them. I watched quite a few during that time. Is it Kiki the Delivery Girl or something like that?
Yes, with the black cat. Yeah.
Castle in the Sky,
That's a classic. That's a classic.
Howl's Moving Castle. Andy, you've seen that, haven't you?
Yeah, that's my favorite.
Okay, so I have a feeling that you both are subscribers of Netflix, because all of these are basically on Netflix as of late. Am I right about that?
Yep.
Okay, there you go. That's how we entertain ourselves lately. So No Song Without You has a very interesting collaboration with Nikki, Indonesia's very own Nikki. Now, I'm wondering if this is a collaboration that's started, or the idea was spawned in your heads after the song Location Unknown blew up in Indonesia.
We'd been aware of Nikki for quite some time, and had messaged her on Instagram, but to no avail. I think basically what had happened is she obviously gets tons and tons of messages, and ours just went into like junk mail or whatever.
Yeah.
But we met her just by complete chance and coincidence in LA. We would just happen to be basically in the next room whilst she was having a session and we were having a session. And we just met her, and we were like, we've been trying to get in touch with you. And she's like, no way, I love you guys. So from that point we said, look, if there's any way we can get in a room with you whilst we're both here, then let's do it. And it happened. And that's how we came up with So I Love You More Than I Can Say is like a full song, but we only took a small segment of it to put on the mixtape, and we worked with her on another track as well, so we'll see, but that might be coming out in the future at some point. It's a really good one. Okay, I was gonna say, fate would have it, like the world coalesced together so that you would meet Nikki at a live event, and then you only gave her 31 seconds on your mixtape. I know, and changed her voice. But It was because she was releasing her own music at the time. It wasn't we obviously didn't want to detract or take away from her own project, so we kept it a big secret. And obviously there's more music from Honne and Nikki coming in the future.
Looking forward to that. And by the way, sticking in the same area, recently you guys reposted Rich Brian's music video. I'm wondering if there's a thought for collaboration there.
Oh, I want to so badly, but I don't. Yeah, we're hounding him.
Okay.
We've got his mobile number.
So you don't have to drop him a DM.
Keep on sliding in those DMs, until eventually he gives in.
Okay, James, you've already told me enough, and I'm excited about that.
Yeah, his new song's so good, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. It really is. By the way, a question for our fans, because I know that Honne is currently struggling to come up with a name for your fandom.
Yeah.
So have you guys had any ideas that's been kicked around the studio?
Yeah, I think one of our favorites is Day Ones.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that's good.
But we're worried that might alienate people who haven't been there since day one.
Is
that okay?
What about the Honeys?
The Honeys,
No,
that was another one.
I'm sure that's been passed around, but then that's a little bit too much on the nose. So might have to be something else. Well, you know what? Okay, so for anyone who's listening to this interview or anyone who's watching this video, make sure you give us some ideas so that James and Andy can kick around in their spare time. And one last question for you is for this entire mixtape, is there a song that you can pick that's maybe a deep cut that people don't naturally pay attention to? You want to tell them a story about why this song is important to you?
Free Love. Do you want to do that?
Go on, what were you going to say?
Yeah, why?
Well, Free Love is probably one of my favorites from the record, just because it's very upbeat, and it kind of, whenever I listen to it, it takes me to this kind of wild place that doesn't really exist, or it only exists in a dream. But it's very visual. I think it takes you somewhere completely mad. But I was going to say one that's like I always kind of well up to it. You would never play it on radio, but it's called One Way to Tokyo. It's a very slow song, but that's quite personal, just because it's about the time that I took my wife to the airport and she was leaving for Tokyo for 6 months. So that's a personal one. But Free Love, that's the one you got to play. Okay, so Free Love for the radio, and I guess for those of you who want to enjoy a quieter track in your jammies, then it's One Way to Tokyo. And today we had Andy and James from Honne joining us here on Asia Pop 40. Thank you so much for connecting with us and spending the time with us.
It's our pleasure. Thanks for it.
Hey guys, this is Andy.
And this is James from Honne.
And you are listening to Asia Pop 40.
Asia Pop 40.